Hi, this is Cheryl Smith with Heartland Stamping, and I am going to show you how to put a card together that we did in class today. And this is also a card that I am submitting for the Demo Design Dream Team tutorial for December. So it's a little bit more complicated than some cards, and I just thought the easiest way would be to include a video link in the tutorial and then kind of a refresher for all of my participants at the class today. So we've got all of our parts and pieces here for this card, and I've seen it called like 2 or 3 different things, from a bay window type card to a center stage card. I'm not sure what the official, or if it has an official name, but we're going to put it together, and then I know you guys will probably see more cards out there of with different decorations and different colors and all different themes. So hope this one helps you put it together. We're going to start with our card base, and we've got 2 pieces of designer series paper that are 5 1/4 by 1 1/2. I'm going to put those over here, and I believe this one is by 1 3/8. Yeah, 1 3/8 by 5 1/4, and we have 2 of those. These are the smaller ones. These are important because we're going to put those right here. We're going to score and burnish a little bit first. So if you're a mountain valley person, this folds mountain, this folds valley, valley, mountain. So it's going to look like that. Burnish those, and we'll burnish the ones in the back. So this is shaded spruce. Love that color. And oh, the paper is in with the Delicate Pines bundle, and I can't remember the official name of it. I guess I'm gonna have to look that up before I do my tutorial. Okay, so get the smaller 2 pieces. If you need to, just compare. And they are literally only 1/8 of an inch smaller. And we're going to put those right here in these spaces. Now you could also use this side of the paper. That is really pretty too. But I'm going to go ahead and put this together just like this. Some adhesive on that one. I'm using the multi-purpose liquid glue just because it's a little more forgiving and I can scooch things over if I need to. Okay, so we're going to put this one on. And if you like your designer series paper to fill up more space, you could make them 5 3/8 by 1 5/8 for the bigger one, and then this little one you would make 5 3/8 by 1 1/2. And so that would take up a little bit more space and show less of the shaded spruce on the side. Okay, now you might want to be gluing these down next, but don't do it. Wait. We're going to fold these. These score lines are exactly the same. So it looks the same as this, only we're going to flip it, and it's going to go like that. Now, I'm going to do my other one. And I don't have to burnish that one as hard. And that one's also going to be flipped. I'm going to put on these little pieces of paper really quick, and then we're going to glue these down. But you want that center part to pop up, whereas in the other one it's going back in. So we're going to put glue on this one. Oh, I can't pick it up. This one and then these two as well. All right, so glue on all 4 of those. And if you're a tape runner person, sure, go ahead and use the tape runner. Whatever is the best choice for you. Now, just use a little bit of glue. You don't want it oozing out from behind the edges. And it's just a tiny piece of paper. And we're not putting that on the edge. Again, we're putting that in that second space right there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what I'm going to put in my centerpieces is a little bit different than the other card I made and took from my tutorial pictures. So let's put some adhesive on this little strip. This one's actually going to go on the top, but so it'll go up there. And then I stamped Celebrate the Season in Shaded Spruce. Now, in my other version, I embossed this with gold. I heat embossed it. And I decided to do this one in spruce just so we could see a little bit of a difference. There we go. And that just fits exactly on there. That's great. All right, so let's pull this back down here. We're going to put this one right up here at the top. And we're only going to put adhesive on these outer edges. Again, using a little bit of the liquid glue. We'll do these one at a time. Whoa, I almost dropped. All right, so we're going to line this up right with that edge. And then we're going to smooth this down and line this one up right with this edge. And I'm going to pick this up so I can see. I want that to be flush with those edges. You also want it to be able to do this right here. My first one that I put together, I closed it and then put those down. But it seems to work either way. All right, so let's flip that over. And again, we're only putting adhesive right behind those. There we go. There we go. Carefully pick that up. That was way too nonchalant last time. All right, so we'll glue that one down and then smooth that whole thing out and glue that one down. So it should go right across. And then I'm going to hold on to these so it doesn't move. Make sure that that goes all the way down. Perfect. Okay. Now you think you can glue these down? Not yet. I know, it's hard. We've got so many things to do. All right, I'm going to lay these down on my grid paper. And a little bit farther apart. Maybe about that far apart. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I came up with this after a few people at the class had difficulty getting these straight. I'll admit, I had trouble getting them straight the first time. So I think I want to do it about that far. I just want enough space so I'm going to cut this in half and I'll have enough to wrap around that side and enough to wrap around these two sides. So again, I'm doing this totally differently than I did before. And I want it to kind of go right here in the middle. If you need to, you can measure that. but we're just gonna wing it. All right, so I'm gonna put that right there. This is our tear and tape. So it's this double-sided tape, comes on a roll. That's not exactly straight, but that's okay. If you burnish it with your bone folder, it'll be easier to peel off. Okay. So we're gonna peel off those two little strips. Now we're gonna line these back up so that they are straight. I'm gonna make sure there's room on both edges because we're gonna have to tuck this around. So I'm gonna eyeball that, use my grid paper, and press that down. Because you want these to be in the same space. And then when you put them on, make sure you put them this direction. I mean, if it helps, right now, do a little pencil mark at the top of each one so you know that's the top. So that way when you're putting them on. Okay, so let's turn these over. And I'm going to line this back up because that's not even straight. So make sure that's straight. Use your grid paper. And then we're going to take some tear and tape. I know it looks like this has taken a while, but this is pretty important. Otherwise, these are crooked. And this ribbon, not forgiving. If you glue this down and then you try to rearrange it, it's just going to come apart because, like I said, it's not a forgiving ribbon. Okay, that looks pretty even right there. So let's do these one at a time. Peel that off. All right, now we're going to peel this one. And very gently pull that over. Okay, now let's do the same thing right here. We're going to have to straighten that out a little bit. Make sure this is straight on your grid paper. Line that up. We're going to get two little pieces of tear and tape again. Line those up on here. Rub that, rub that. All right, we'll peel that off. Make sure our ribbon is straight. Do the same thing on this side. Okay, so now we've got those. Guess what we can do? We can put them in place. So we put those two little dots on there to indicate that that was the top. And we put that on there. They should be close to the same. All right. Now the other thing you can do is glue doesn't really work too well in holding ribbon down. It just doesn't. The glue soaks into the ribbon and it doesn't stay very well to adhere to the paper. So we're going to put tear and tape just on that ribbon, and then it'll be sandwiched in and it won't move. So we'll get a couple more. All right, we'll rub that, and that. Let's peel these off. All right, we know that goes at the top, that little dot. So we're gonna layer this on. You guys, I didn't put any more adhesive on. I was so focused on that darn ribbon. Can you tell I'm doing this at 11 o'clock at night? Okay. All right, there we go. Now, this is just a pretty generic pattern of Designer Series paper. And one of the people that I learned this card from did mention that if it's a pattern paper, that you want to make sure that you kind of cut these all from that pattern in a row. And so you cut your big piece, your small piece, your small piece, your big piece. And you kind of keep those lined up so that when you put your card together, it flows really nicely. Where's our pencil mark? Right there. Okay, so we know that's at the top. So that when you put that together, these match up. My other card, they were not that close. Okay, so now we've got that much done. We're going to flip it over. I already stamped this Warmest Winter Wishes, and I've got this piece on the back. It's just some gold foil. This is 3 by 4 1/4, so this is 3 by 1/2 inch, and this is 3 by 3/4 of an inch. Just put a little glue on that. Flip it over. Yep, make sure your words are going the right way. You want to put this on upside down. There you go. Now that gives you plenty of room to write something, stamp your sentiment. And if you wanted to, you could decorate some paper back here. I left it naked. Ooh. Okay. So now we're coming to the interesting part. Let's get our ribbon out of the way. In fact, let's move this stuff. And we're going to get out our trimmer. So I've learned the hard way that window sheets will just disappear on your desk. So I always have a Post-it note on my window sheet so that I can't lose it. Now this window sheet is a little bit longer than what we need, but that's okay. I am going to cut this at 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to pick it up, and I'm not going to put it down because I don't want to lose it. All right, so we're going to put that right here. We're going to get some glue dots. And I am going to take glue dot number 1, and I'm going to pick it up right with this, peel it off. So I've got my glue dot stuck here. I'm going to close this up. I'm going to lay that down there, glue dot up. So we want it to stick to this. I want to center it right like that. There we go. Now I'm going to pull that down, and it's following this middle of your card. We're going to get another glue dot, and you can use take your pick tool. I'm using my handy dandy scissors. Let's make sure it's sticking out. I know you guys probably can't see it, but it's right there. I'm going to squish that down on it. So now it's going right down the middle. I'm going to take this and trim that off. If you wanted to, you could cut this at 5 1/4 or 5 3/8, and then you wouldn't have to do this step. Okay, so now we've got that right in the middle, right? We're going to take this hoop. We're going to put a glue dot on it. We only want the glue dot to be on one side. So I'm going to take my scissor. I try not to touch it with my fingers because the oils on your fingers will kind of dilute the stickiness. All right, so I've got it rolled up a little bit. And I'm going to put it right along the edge of this. Just going to stick that. And you don't want it to be over 1/4 of an inch wide, because that's how wide our little strip is. Okay, so I manipulated that. We're going to push this down. And right where that glue dot is, I'm going to lay that down. And I want to center it on my card. So it's centered on both sides of the card. It's centered on here. Okay, so it's stuck down at the bottom. Now let's go through that process again. We're going to flip it around and do it on this end. Now, if you like to do both of these before you stick it down, you know, go right ahead. You can use your grid paper and kind of put it together, but I like getting it right on here. And I do kind of just push it with my fingernail, or you could push it with this and get it right under there. All right, so the least amount of touching with my fingers is what I want to do. So now we can see our ring is kind of floating on that center piece of window sheet. Well, we're going to do the same thing with our snowflake. So let's put that together. You could put this together with a dimensional. I don't want to create any more thickness in here. If you're going to mail this, you're probably going to want to do some kind of padded envelope or protected envelope. You know, don't just put that through the machine. Ask them to hand stamp it in the whole 9 yards. So this is a really pretty one. You probably just want to hand it to somebody. Can't imagine what the post office would do to this. Okay. So I'm going to just use a glue dot. I'm going to stick it. You know what? Let's just put it right there. Right there in the middle. And you could cut these out with your die, because there is a die that cuts that out of the middle. But I'm going to cover up most of that with this little piece right here. Isn't that beautiful? I love this stamp set. Delicate Pines bundle, so pretty. All right, so I know that's going to go right smack in the middle, and it's going to go pretty much edge to edge. So I'm going to put on 3 or 4 dots to hold that down. So we'll just pull those up. I'll just use 3. Feeling risky. Whoa. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. It's sticking to everything but the window sheet. All right, one more. You saw the first one. It stuck on there like a champ. The other two are, they're the difficult children. Okay. So we're going to put snowflake there. Snowflake there. Voila! Now, I elected not to put any designer series paper back here. I just felt, I tried a couple and it was just too busy with the snowflake. It just took away from that. So with the background being just the plain cardstock, you really just have the attention span to focus on this snowflake, and it doesn't detract from that at all. If you wanted to, you could put a piece back there that is like dry embossed with an embossing folder, and that would add a little something to it, but it wouldn't take away from this. And I haven't tried it yet, but I thought it would be really cool to do one of these in white cardstock, and then this snowflake would be spruce, and this little snowflake would be white. So you would just switch everything, and that would show up the spruce really nice on the white. So just another way to do it, especially if you don't have the spruce cardstock or the cardstock to match whatever paper you're putting this together with. Just do white. And the ones that I saw, this was just a plain circle that fit in here. And then it was decorated and had some sayings on it. It was really cool. mean, just the coolest thing. It folds up. I wish I knew who originally created this. Give him a big old thank you. He did an awesome job. And that's what it looks like from the top. All right, that's enough. If you have any questions about it, just contact me, CherylSmith.Stampin'Up.net. I'll be happy to help if I can. You all have a great rest of your day, and thanks for stamping with me. Bye-bye.